Here we are at the warehouse once again. Today I think it's finally time to get the bounder repaired. You can see it sitting there behind me. It's actually been a really reliable chair. I've only had 2 failures on it over the years, and I think this one we're about to fix is technically my fault. I have done a lot of mods to it, like changing out the gear, changing out the sprockets and things like that. And as a result of using non-OEM parts on it, I've had to adjust the chains a lot more and do a few other things that were, well, not really the fault of the chair at all, but my modifications. So anyways, I say all that because a lot of times people see my backlog of bounder videos and they're like, oh, that must be a really terrible chair. No, mine is not reliable because I screwed it up. It was originally supposed to be an off-road chair and I didn't want to go 6.2 miles an hour or whatever it was. So I swapped out the sprockets for more speed. And this one wasn't really designed for that, so the brakes don't really hold it when I'm on a hill because the gear ratio is way too high and the control system wasn't designed for it. Anyways, all that aside, there's one electrical connector that I think while I was doing some mods, I broke it. It's one of these mini Anderson power pole ones. I think I've got some right here. There we go, it's these guys. I think I bought these back when I was planning on Arnett swapping the bounder. But for assorted reasons, I didn't wind up doing that. Anyhow, we're coming back into summertime here and I need to get this thing reliable and back online. It does technically work, but sometimes the chair stops and it's always in a really inconvenient spot. And I have to get out of the thing and take it all apart. So anyways, let's move all this garbage out of the way. Pull this thing out of the corner, and yes, you can hear that battery charger humming away over there. But yeah, we're gonna pull this thing out of here, take it apart, and this should be a pretty simple fix. We just need to cut some wires, replace a connector, and I think we're good. Yeah, I always work on stuff here and then never clean up my mess afterwards, so I'll be right back. Ta-da, it's a bounder. So I've raised the seat lift up all the way. The only other failure I've ever had on this chair was actually the seat lift actuator, and they sent me out one to replace it. I think I made a video about that a long time ago. But there is a main power connector down here behind the battery that feeds a bunch of stuff, and they use the Anderson mini power pole connectors for almost everything on this chair. I think you might be able to see one right there. All we need to do to access that connector is to basically pull out our battery box, which is on convenient drawer slides. Once again, I forgot to bring my lights with me. Well, anyways, the connector in question is this yellow one right down here. I suppose I probably also should have brought some zip ties with me. Yeah, well anyways, I'm gonna gather my tools, hop on the floor, we're gonna disconnect the battery because we don't want any power in the system while we do this, and we'll get to replacing. I think it should be fairly simple. Famous last words, right? Huh, turns out my tripod isn't quite tall enough to look down. Anyways, let's get this battery box open here. Velcro strap. And the lid comes right off. And all we need to do is remove this giant Anderson connector, and that will make sure there's no power anywhere in the chair. By the way, this little battery monitor that I've been using for the last few years works great. I just hot glued it on here, the side of the frame. But this is the module here that actually detects the current going through and whatnot. So we'll just pop this off of here. There we go. And you can see that that thing is dead. And hitting our brake release lever here doesn't do anything. So yeah, now we are ready to attack that connector. I think I'm gonna take this battery box completely off of the chair because it'll be easier to reach in there. Okay, I'm tired. Managed to lift that thing out of there. It's not too ridiculously heavy, but it certainly isn't light. And then I think this, yeah, that just comes off. And now we have significantly more access to everything down inside here. So these little power pole connectors come in sort of these little Lego blocks like this, and they can be put together in configurations like this. There's little slots on each side. Yeah, I have to put the pins and stuff in there, but you can basically just customize and make these work in any configuration you need. On this one, I think the back of the plastic broke off, and I added some zip ties and also something down here to stiffen it. Yeah, so it looks like I just zip tied it to another cable to kind of give it some more support. If we pull this apart, actually, it doesn't look that bad. I could have sworn that this was broken somehow. Huh, weird. Wait a minute. I was incorrect. It was not this yellow connector. It's this other one way up here that you can't really see at all. Yeah, I was going to say, that thing looked in pretty decent shape, but yeah, it's this one up here. Yeah, see how that's got electrical tape all the way around it? How am I even going to access that? Oh man, that is way up in there. Just peeling off the tape here. Oh yeah. There we go. That's the one. Okay, cool. It's the end that we can actually pull out of there. Yeah, see how the end of that is broken off? There's your problem. And looks like the other half of it is fine. All right, cool. See how short that is? That would be almost impossible for me to get up in there without taking apart everything and pulling the motors off. But this, I can actually pull out here and reach it. All right, cool. Yeah, so we got two yellow ones on here. We're just going to replace them with the probably red equivalent or something like that. Actually, the pin looks like it's okay. Maybe we can just slip on new hard shell connectors. Okay, this might be easier than I thought. Let's see if we can cut this off of here. Carefuling. Carefuling. All right, that was a good one. I'll be back in a minute. Don't play with knives, kids. Anyways, continuing on. Looks like they were using sort of that, what is that heat shrink that has some glue inside of it? Actually, I should mark these. Oh wait, are these all the same? Yeah, let me grab a Sharpie real quick. I need to mark this stuff. Okay, we're just going, come back here, flashlight. We're just gonna mark this with a couple of black, actually, we'll just do one for the rear of the chair and two, or something other than a one. Here, we'll just do an X. I'll remember it. I couldn't find my hook and pick set, but I've got this little screwdriver kit here that has some extremely tiny bits. So I think we can use this. Yeah, look at how tiny that flat blade is. I think we can use that to release our pin here, which actually I can probably do from the front since it's broken. Or it actually won't require any tools at all. There we go. So new pins are actually, well, obviously new, but that one looks okay. And our wiring connection point seems like it's still pretty solid. Let's just, yeah, let's just slip on a new housing. And click into place it goes. Did you hear that? I'm using this little flashlight and I've just got it laying on a pile of wires so it keeps falling off of here. Actually, maybe it's better without the light. I don't know. Anyways, there we go. Connector repaired. I think this other one's fine. Yeah, I think what happened was one of the times I was sliding the battery box out of here, it must have pulled on that. Maybe it was when I was adjusting the motor. I don't know. Anyways, these connectors can slip together. So we'll just go ahead and do that. And there we go. Huh. Okay, well that was easier than I thought. Let me double check this one. Yeah, there doesn't appear to be any fatigue on that. All right, cool. I think that's it. I'm gonna look around and see if I have any more of this heat shrink stuff. This holds, actually this is electrical tape. Where'd the heat shrink go? Here we go, this stuff. I think most of this is still in the bus actually, but I'm gonna look around real quick and see if we can find something to slip over here. If not, I'm perfectly happy with just using electrical tape on that. And for reference, here's the issue. These connectors are good for plugging, you know, straight in and out, but any sort of side load on these things, and oh yeah, see, they just break right in half. Cool. Well, I looked around and couldn't find any heat shrink, so we're just going to tightly wrap electrical tape on here. For now, let's just verify and make sure this plugs in here. I think a mini power pull is a mini power pull, but just for fun. Yep, seems to go in there just fine. All right, let's get to wrapping here. We've got some authentic 3M tape, and we're just going to go nutso with it and give it a nice tight wrap to protect all the wires and everything, and we're going to call it a day. Now, the one thing, at least when I bought this chair, bounders are not waterproof. I don't know if they've changed that yet. It wouldn't be too hard to use sort of a different style of connectors on these things, but this particular chair, while I do use it in the rain and whatnot, you've got to be really careful about going through deep puddles and stuff that can get water up into all this wiring, because even though there is water resistant heat shrink on here, water can still very easily get into these connectors and cause issues. So I'll have to check on that and see if anything has been changed as far as the design of that goes. But for right now, this particular model of chair, which I think this one's from 2017 actually, this particular model that I have here does not appreciate water at all. Now, I could go through here and change out all these connectors and everything, but that kind of reminds me of being a lot of work, and I don't really feel like doing that. Yeah, that actually looks pretty nice. I am still going to be getting a new bounder here at some point. I know I've been saying that for about 2 years, but you know, all the worldwide weirdness and supply chain stuff has really become a thing. But it is still in the works. But that's one of the reasons I decided not to Arnet swap this thing, is because I'm going to be getting a new one. And also, as it turns out, if you have a high-speed bounder with, well, the gearing I have on here now is sort of high speed. I think it's around 7.5 to 8-ish miles an hour. The Arnet control system can't really be customized for a chair that moves that fast. There's a few parameters that have to do with bringing the chair to a stop and turning on the parking brakes that cannot be adjusted. And in a big heavy chair like this, especially if you're going downhill, there needs to be some sort of adjustability so you can coast a little bit further before the brakes actually come on. And the controller needs a little bit of feedback from the motors to know what's going on. The way Arnet works is there is a set undefinable parameter for the moment you let go of the joystick based on time until the brakes click on. They're assuming that chairs are not going to be going like this F3 here any faster than 6.5 miles an hour, or maybe 7.5, depending on the slightly faster Permobiles, like the 5 Series chairs. But unfortunately, there is not a way to set that up. So in the case of this chair being big and heavy, or the newer ones that are, you know, 10, 11, 12 miles an hour, Arnet is not the way to go. It's not, unfortunately, the end-all be-all. However, the new dynamic links control system, I am actually very excited to play around with, and my new bounder will have that. All of those things are customizable, and also the electronics are set up so that the battery gauge will work with a lithium battery. So, a few new things. And also, apparently, it is possible to buy some brand new Lynx electronics from Dynamic for really reasonable prices, you know, going through dealers and whatnot. So, anyways, Arnet's cool and all, but not for this setup, unfortunately. Once I get my new chair, I'll probably be selling this one. I'm going to put it back to stock because these sprockets I put on here are import steel and they wear out a lot, or they wear down a lot, and it causes me to have to adjust the chains more than is normal, or more than usual. I don't know, words. I'm going to work on tucking some of this wiring back up in here, and then I'll show you the end result. Then I think we have some mail to open. I think there's at least one package, maybe? So anyways, I'll be back in a few. Just taking another break here, sitting here looking at the beautiful scenery or whatever that is on that thing. To the point where I need some zip ties. And if I recall, I used to keep some in this backpack. So let's see. They're the white ones. I
I think these should work. I prefer to use the black ones because they're UV resistant. What else we got in here? Some supplies. Yeah, only those zip ties. I prefer to use the black ones because they're more UV resistant. Obviously, we're not going to get a lot of light down in there, but I found these things tend to get brittle long before the black ones do. Anyways, I think those will work. All right, there's our new connector put back on there. I think what I'm going to do is add some zip ties here, because using two different styles of connectors with different build dates, they don't quite click into place. Like if you look at this one, when I put this together, you might be able to hear it kind of snap into place. Assuming I can do this one-handed. All right, take a listen. It kind of clicks in. This one doesn't do that. It's a very tight friction fit, but since we're using, you know, different types of connectors and very much older and very much newer combined, I think what I'm gonna do is just put something behind there and zip tie it in place, because all of this is roughly hanging on that. I will zip tie all of this together, so it'll give us some more support. But this wire here goes up around the swing arm and back here. So we can't really run it over here because the swing arm has to move and these wires can flex up here. If it gets moved over here, it can interfere with things. Anyways, that's what it looks like for now. I'm going to get this buttoned up and then show you the results. Yeah, it hurts my soul a little bit having to use the slightly different colored zip ties, but no one's gonna see in here anyways. I guess the problem is I know they're here. But we've got everything tied up here. I wound up just using several cross-directional layers of that 3M electrical tape and got everything zip tied up. I pulled everything upwards so there's no tension on this connection whatsoever. And as you can see, it's very tightly wrapped, which is kind of how it was previously. But we got the rest of our zip ties added in here and replaced the ones we cut over here that were unnecessary. Oh, need to put one more right here. Should I wrap that too? Yeah, electrical tape's not a good way to keep water out, but I feel like I should maybe put a wrap around there too. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, it'll be nice having this thing back online. I mean, it's not like it wasn't online, but at any moment it could just kind of, you know, stop working. And it's not what you want in something like this. It is the moment of truth, and I can barely hold up this camera. Okay, there's no smoke. Excellent. Let's see if our electronics are powered up. They do in fact seem to be. And I need to get off the floor, so I'm gonna button all this back up, and then I think we're gonna go for a ride. Okay, I think that's everything. Yeah, as you can see here, this is some of my extra wiring right here. I think this was for the cooling fan that I put on the controller. And then, oh yeah, also the power meter. But yeah, at some point or other when I was doing something, I caught that wire and ripped that connector. So anyways, I guess we can go ahead and say there's only been one failure on this chair that wasn't caused by me. Ta-da, it's a chair. Look at the bounder in all of its glory. Cool thing about this one is when I'm sitting in it with the seat elevator up all the way, it actually gets me up to my full standing height, what it used to be, of 6'1". It seems a very long way off the ground. Oh, also, I think maybe a year after I got this chair, I added a cooling fan to the controller. It's the Dynamic DX2 control system, which I think is somewhere around 120, 130 amps. Somewhere in there. I did find out though a few weeks ago that the motors were not set to maximum torque. So I've been using it all this time, and these motors, like I said, weren't designed for speed. So with me putting the bigger sprockets on there, I've effectively put more load on that controller, hence the need for the cooling fan. It's on a thermistor, but I've got a bypass switch right here. It's kind of loud. But that's a 12 volt or a 24 volt server fan that I stuck in there, and it really gets the air moving. Because when it's over 90 or 100 degrees outside, running around in this thing going at speed, with that rain cover and everything on there, it definitely needs some airflow. And you know, putting cooling fans on things is perfectly acceptable. The soccer chair is not in here right now, but they run mandatory cooling fans on the motors and the controller on those things because they're getting pushed so hard.
Now these motors, I've never experienced them getting remotely warm. These things are extremely oversized for this application, which is good. They pretty much never wear out. And I think I asked them at one point as far as needing to replace brushes. I don't know if they've ever had to do it on the older chairs. I'm sure there has been a few outlying cases, but from what I was hearing from them, they just last like way beyond the life of everything else on the chair, which is basically forever. These are my ride height adjustment adapters. These are those prototype things I put in. If I can find a link to that video, I'll put it up above. These are still kind of in prototype mode because the tires I put on here are way too big. Once again, because I'm going to be getting a new chair, I'll be putting this back to stock. And I finally found some tires that don't have this insane tread. I found some tires like this that have more of a highway tread that'll be much more suited for this. And I'll be able to take these back off of here. But anyways, I'm just blubbering about random things. Oh, let's see if it moves. Hey, look at that. We have a chair. Let's put our seat lift back down here. Yikes, something went wrong. Huh, weird. There we go. Ta-da, we have a thing. Okay, it is a nice day outside, so I think I might hop on a bus and go to an area that's not too far from here and do a little bit of running around. I have been having some issues with this thing staying on when the chair is off and draining the batteries. So I think I'm gonna plug this into the charger and leave it on here for a little bit while I take care of some other things here. It says we're at 26.57 volts. So yeah, it could use a little bit of charging, I think. Anyways, I'm gonna plug this in and then we're gonna do some running around, I think. Nothing too crazy, just, you know, stuff. Get outside. I went outside just a minute ago to look for some more zip ties in the van. And I realized it's a good 10 degrees colder in here than it is outside. So, must take advantage of nice weather. Oh, by the way, I took the laundry cart back to the bus. And the 2 nights that it spent in the van out at the bus when it was right around freezing didn't damage the washing machine. Because washing machines always have a little bit of water in the bottom. And, well, since, you know, we were having super cold weather because winter, I didn't want to leave it out there. And I can't really fit it inside the bus. Well, I can't use it inside because, you know, water and stuff. But anyways, finally able to do my own laundry at the bus again without having to go somewhere. While that chair's charging, let's open some packages. And because copyright, I'm going to mute this. I think one of these is from the gift list, perhaps. This other one, it's a FedEx overnight mailer. What is this? Returns Processing Center. It's a new SIM card for the LiveView. One of the companies that I use for one of the modems on there, they actually dropped their prices from $40 a month to $25 a month. So yeah, they just sent me a new SIM card. All right, cool. I can't believe they overnighted it. That's awesome. Okay, let's put things on the floor. Move this out of the way. Okay, let's see what we got here. You ever feel a lot more disabled on some days than others? What do we got? Ooh, sweet. I think I know who this is from. Let's see. There you go. Have a great day. Awesome. These are some more of those 12, 24 volt little USB power supplies like we used in the last video for powering, please hold, accessing file in Brain. They're what we use for powering the sensors in the plumbing bay. I think I might actually try one of these on my chair to see how it works. I did notice with the other ones, well, okay, so I've been in the bus long enough now that some of the stuff that I've installed has been there long enough to break. My ventilation blower that I installed, for some reason, I left that running the other day when I took off to go somewhere. And in the back of my mind, I had this thought. I was like, I wonder what would happen if that motor on that blower failed when I wasn't here, if anything bad would happen. But there's a total of 3 fuses in that circuit, so I was like, whatever. So I came back and it wasn't running. And the fuse was fine. So I don't know what happened. I think that thing was making a lot of noise on the 24 volt circuit because right after we installed these, I noticed that a couple of the sensors weren't working that were plugged in. At first, I thought maybe these things couldn't handle above 24 volts because a lot of times these things will be, 7 to 32 volts. But these specifically say 12 to 24. So I think we might need to do some testing with that. I think my bench power supply is buried in here somewhere, but we might need to do some testing on these because when the inverter batteries are charging, they can get up to about 29.8 volts, and I thought maybe that was making these things freak out. But then that ventilation blower stopped working and it hasn't been running, and I haven't been getting any more errors. So I think maybe something happened to that motor, like with the brushes or something like that. So I don't know. We'll have to do some testing, but thank you for sending these. Very handy. I've got a pile of additional sensors that need to be hooked up in various places. Yeah, so I guess that was it. Thank you. I'm gonna get caught up on some emails and things, and the Bounder's back there charging. If you listen real close, you can hear the charger whirring, maybe. Anyways, I'm gonna give that another 30 minutes or so, and then go experience some nice weather. All right, time for a test run. If I push the right button. There we go. All right, we're in the Bounder. See, Bounder. So let's go for a rip, and ooh, this thing's fast. What's our tire pressure doing? Looks like we're okay. Yeah, I don't see any bulging, so yeah, let's go for a little voyage. Okay, so previously with the, sorry, I have to film the ground here. But previously, the motor torque, I think it was, or power, I forget what the setting's called, was only at 70%. I'm not exactly sure why that was, but I bumped it up to 100, and now this thing can actually climb hills. It still does slow down a little bit, but it's significantly better than it was. So yeah. Oh, actually, I think let's go get some coffee. Yeah. It is very much fantastic now to know that the cables that are keeping this chair operating are no longer held together with baling wire, electrical tape, and zip ties. There's proper electrical connections, so that's always a bonus. Yeah, adjusting these torque settings made a huge difference. This thing can turn pretty well now. I mean, we're still way out of spec for the gear ratios, but all that aside, factoring that in, it climbs hills pretty decently. And a short ride on the train later, here we are at a McDonald's. Because, finest coffee on earth. This weird little maze to go through here. Dumpsters. Wow, that's a very green van. Man, construction here's a mess. I'm glad I don't live in this town. Yeah, we're actually able to hold full speed now. Excellent. Before, when I was turning and stuff, it would slow down quite a bit. Rubber marks. Oh man. I know I said it earlier, but it's so nice now not having to worry about this thing randomly stopping when I hit a bump. And we have more essentials. Coffee. Just coffee and creamer. I still can't believe how difficult it is to order an iced coffee from McDonald's with just coffee and creamer in it. They always want to know what flavor you want, and then you tell them no sugar, and then they'll put like sweet and low in it or something. I don't know. It's funny. It's an ongoing saga if you have been watching the channel for just a minute. Yeah, we're still piping about 10 amps into this thing. I think this battery goes up to like 28 point something or other volts. It's going down just a tiny bit. But yeah, I don't know if I need to replace that thing or what, but
Sometimes I'll come in here after not being here for a week and the display is on, which means it's pulling down the voltage of the pack. So I don't know, probably wouldn't hurt to put a switch on that thing or maybe just replace it. It has been in there for quite a while. This is the one we extended the wires on a long time ago. I think that might have been in the video called Inside a Bounder Lithium Battery, maybe? If I find a link, I'll put it up there in the corner.
I do believe we will call that good for today, however. Nice to have this chair reliable again and not, be thinking in the back of my mind every time I use it that it might randomly get me stranded somewhere and, have to flop out onto the ground, pull out the battery box and start jiggling wires. So that's always something that's preferable not to deal with. So anyways, thanks for watching and I will catch you, what day is this? Oh, it's Wednesday. I'll catch you tomorrow on the live stream. Oh, by the way, last week's live stream in the bus, I kind of forgot that the overhead lights weren't working. So I think we will fix that for tomorrow and maybe do another surprise. Anyways, I'll catch you guys then. See ya. Working. It's playing music. Someone hold your phone horizontally. I just want to know where it's going to stop. My chair's right there. It's enough to make me dizzy. Oh wait, we probably queued up like 4 rides. I don't normally get sick, but this is weird. Oh, no way. No way. I felt it move a tiny bit at the end, so I think it knows where it's at. No, don't record this. This is where my shirt doesn't go down low enough. Do it from over there if we can do anything. Okay, so I flip back over here. I'm gonna chill for a minute.